So the real estate market is in a very, very interesting spot. And I can tell you from working with clients all around the country, they all have the same questions. And they're all very, very important questions. And the one thing that's really kind of leaving people hanging is they see and hear all of this doom and gloom talk of the real estate market collapsing and what actually is going on. And when you see inventory levels rising, days on market increasing, but the prices are still going up, it kind of leaves everybody in this very puzzled state. And I can explain exactly why that's happening. And I can tell you what is happening with our current buyers and their situations and what I think is actually going to happen in this turn of the year going into 2023. Because right now, the Fed has increased interest rates that's really alleviated the pressure on, the multiple offer situations, paying way over ask price, and waiving inspections, contingencies, and all that stuff. So what I'm going to go through is give you a real life market update of what's going on in the Portland metro. Also, some pros and cons of why buying in 2022 was different than 2021 and what you can expect, and what my specific future prediction is of what's going to happen as soon as we turn the corner and head into 2023. So if you're someone that's really interested in the Portland market, maybe thinking about buying or relocating out there, this is a great video for you, and I'm going to get into it right now. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jesse Dow with the Living in Portland Real Agent Now group. And if this is your first time to our channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap that little bell so you're notified each and every time we drop a new video. And honestly, we have so many people reaching out to us, thinking about moving or relocating to Portland, Oregon, and we absolutely love it. So if you want to get hold of us and chat moving to Portland, you got to reach out, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or even send that pigeon carrier. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back on making a move to Portland, Oregon. So as you guys have probably seen, if you guys are watching the news, you guys are, watching our videos, the market has gone kind of bonkers in a sense that, people really, really have an outside perception of what's going on. Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on from a boots on the ground standpoint. I have my handy dandy notes right here because I want you guys to get real-time stats and understand what's going on. Because if I was an outsider on the fence, not participating in buying and selling real estate right now, I would be wondering what the heck is going on. Because the truth be told is that I would be thinking that the house prices are going to drop, and they're not. And what I mean by they're not is I mean that they are not dropping. They're not going down. And it's just a very, very weird situation that we're in right now, because the reality is inventory is increasing. We went from 1.4 months to 2 months. And what that means is if we were to stop listing houses based on the absorption rate, we would be out in 2 months. Last month, that was 1.4. So we made a pretty big shift. Well, the reality is we're actually shifting back more towards like what we call a normalized market. And if it wasn't for COVID, which created a massive frenzy, this is probably where we would have ended up anyways, is in this more of a neutralized market, which is really good for buyers. And it's really good for, sellers, especially where we are today, because sellers are still able to put their house on the market. And as long as it's priced accurately and they got great marketing, they're still going to get a full price offer. However, there's a lot of people that are doing what we call panic selling. They get this doom and gloom mentality in their mind. They think the market's going to crash. They put their house on the market, they overprice it, and then it's just sitting there. Because people that overprice their house are people that are not realistic about selling their house. They also don't understand what happens in real estate. The longer a house sits on the market, the less offers they get and the less money they make. That's why people want to price their house accurately, so they get a lot of attraction, they get a lot of, multiple offers, and then that typically creates a bidding war. Unfortunately, right now, there's not a ton of buyers in the market. That's the reason that we're seeing the inventory come up. And the reason that we don't see a lot of buyers out there right now is because interest rates have been, skyrocketed. The reality is, 12 months ago, even 6 months ago, interest rates were in the 2s and 3s. Today they're in, the mid to high fives. And what that does is every single time the interest rate goes up 1%, based on good credit, that could potentially bring your house mortgage payment up about $300 a percentage. So the $500,000 house 6 months ago was about $600 less per month than it is today. And unfortunately, the average and the median sales price are still going up almost double digits. Versus last year, that number has only dropped off about 1%. So it was growing at about 10%. Now we're sitting at about 9%. So, and also when you look at the 7-month trend year to date versus the 12-month trend, that number is only off about 1% as well. So realistically, if say we are dropping at about 1%, that is bringing us back, like I keep saying, to our neutralized, normalized market. My personal opinion is that when we turn the corner into 2023, we just had the midterms, or we're going into the midterm elections. It's historic that when a Democrat's in office, that they dump the interest rates right before the election. So it's my personal opinion based on market history. When we go into a recession, interest rate drops. Also, what we have is an election year coming up here in the near future. That's also when they drop interest rates. So when all signs are pointing to Rome, guess where we're heading? We're heading towards Rome. We are heading into a market where interest rates are going to go back down. If it wasn't for the Fed trying to make money and alleviate inflation, they would be reversing the interest rates of where they are now. Unfortunately, we're in a different situation. So they have to jack interest rates up, which is causing the real estate market to come down, which is honestly, it's good for everyone, because what we saw in 2020 and 2021 was not okay. That was absolutely insanity. And the reality is buyers were put into a very bad situation. It's because there was very low inventory, which caused a huge amount of demand, and it caused people to have to waive inspections, appraisal waivers. They were paying way over list price, buying into negative equity. The list goes on. The good news is most of the houses that we sold, we didn't end up using the appraisal waiver. Yes, we put it in the play, but the house was appraising because the demand was so high. And guess what? Now those houses are comps. That is why you are not seeing the prices of homes go down. It's because nothing was overinflated. When you saw what was going on in 2006, 2007, 2008, that was a false market. There was fraudulent lending going on, and there was also a ton of inventory. If we saw a house price increase in 2021, 2022, it's because there was no inventory. Back in 2006, 2007, there was tons of inventory and the prices were still skyrocketing. It's because everybody was using their house as a piggy bank, taking out equity and hoping to the refi in the future. So the reality is there is some positives that I see. Now there are some negatives, and I'm going to talk about both of those really, really quickly. So hang with me. And heck, maybe you think that I'm absolutely crazy. I'd love to hear what your comments are down in the comment box. Shoot us a message down in the comments. Maybe we'll bring them up on the screen in one of our next videos, but we'd love to hear what you think about the market and what you think is going on. Now, personally, I just personally bought another house. And the reality is the house was listed at $725. I was able to get it for $650. I got them to pay all of my closing costs, and I was able to move in early. Is that normal? Not necessarily, but I knew based on the history of this home and what the seller was doing and how accessible they were, that there was probably a good chance that something like that was going to happen. So I pushed it as hard as I can, and lo and behold, this is where it was. So a couple pros that I see based on our current market is that the bidding wars are no longer in play. Are they 100% gone? No. A house that is still priced right, with great condition and great location, is still going to get multiple offers. Is it going $50,000 and $100,000 over like we saw last year and earlier this year? Absolutely not. No, we were seeing maybe $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And we did see a couple houses, probably 5 of them that were, over 100,000, but these were houses that were multi-million-dollar homes that were priced very, very low. So of course you're going to always have those one-off scenarios, but I'm talking about the core business in our market. The second thing is with longer inventory times now we're up to 20 days. That means that it's taken the home on average 20 days. A smart seller says they wait 20 days to get a full price offer, but a panic seller is willing to take offers. So in this specific market, the buyer has the upper hand because the longer the house sits, everyone's sitting there going like, what's going on? What's wrong with that house? When houses were selling in 1, 2, 3 days a year ago and earlier this year, 7 months ago, guess what? People don't catch up. People are still thinking 7 months ago. And as new buyers come into the market, they think this is the new normal. So it's always being educated about what's going on. And the reality is there isn't a lot of agents out there that are selling the volume of homes that we sell with buyers every single day. One of our most powerful assets that we have as a team is that we are in the know every single day because we do such a high volume of relocation with clients from all around the world. And it's something that we pride ourselves on, which is how we know exactly what's going on. You know, if we weren't in the know and we were basing our offers on 6 months ago, we would be writing offers for way over list price and waiving all of our contingencies, which when we list homes in this market, we're still seeing that. It's because some of these other agents aren't educating themselves. They're not staying up to date. And it's crazy to me. But as a buyer in today's market, you also have a lot more choices, which is fantastic. The choices in this market, when inventory rises up, days on market expands, you have the liberty to sit back and just wait for that house. And I'm going to tell you right now, after working with thousands of buyers, every buyer knows when they walk into that right house. Don't ever settle on the house that doesn't work for you. And don't ever settle on something that you feel like you're being pressured into buying. That's the thing. We know based on our buyers, if you're not in love with the house, it's not for you. And the reason that we would never want to put a buyer in that position is because we know that they're going to terminate the contract down the road. When I work with any agents that we work with that are new or seasoned, and they're maybe new to working with buyers, we always say, hey guys, when a buyer finds the right house, you're going to know. And this is the same thing that we educate all of our buyers on too. We, after going into a couple of houses, we just say, hey, look, if this isn't the right house for you, just let us know right away. We don't want to waste your time. And, we hope that you don't want to waste our time either. And all of them say the same thing. They're like, oh, thank you so much. This is not the house for me. And then when it happens, they all say the same thing. They're like, you were right. You were right. This house is perfect for us. How'd you know? They get all giddy. They want to do whatever it takes to get the home. And, when the inventory level is low, that creates bidding wars. But when the inventories are where they are now and where they're heading, it creates an upper hand for the buyers. Also, the benefit to that is that you no longer have to waive your appraisals. No, we are still leaving the appraisals in play. Before, we had to waive the appraisal, which meant, and it wasn't waiving it, you could still have your appraisal done. It meant that if the appraisal came in low, so let's say the house was listed at 500, you put in an offer at 550, and you had to put in an appraisal gap waiver, which meant that whatever the house appraised for between 500 and 550, you would cover the delta. So let's say the house appraised at 530, you would have to pay $20,000 out of pocket to offset that appraisal gap. Now, if the house appraised for 600, you now have $50,000 in built-in equity. The seller can't adjust the price. So it's actually, it's kind of like a roll the dice situation. A lot of buyers don't feel comfortable about that. However, out of the hundreds of homes that we sold when the market was crazy, we probably only had less than 5. I know we had less than 5 that didn't meet the appraisal. And every single one of them that did, the sellers told us in advance that they had an appraisal done on the property because they had a sale fail and that it was going to appraise low. So our buyers went into the situation knowing what they were getting themselves into. The second pro I want to talk about, or the last pro I want to talk about, is inspections. Inspections are the most important thing and the most power a buyer has once they get under contract, is because buyers get to go in and see behind the walls of what they didn't see when they put in their offer. You see, when we negotiate repairs, it's typically on systems that affect the value of the home and anything that could cause a safety hazard. So if you go into a house and you see that there's, dings in the wall, the floor is messed up, all those things, the price of that home is set based on the visual aspects of the home. Now, the things that we can't see, such as maybe like double tapped wiring, cracked and sloped foundation, mold in the attic, which are very, very common issues. in the Portland metro area, mold is almost in every home. The reason why is because there's a lot of moisture. The great news is that everything's able to be mitigated, including radon. A lot of people think radon is the end all be all to death. The reality is they have radon mitigation systems that are less than a couple $1,000. They encapsulate the radon, it pumps it out into the atmosphere, and you hear that and you're like, oh, they're great, they're pumping the radon out there. Well, the reality is when radon's in an encapsulated area like your house, it's dangerous. When it goes out into the air, into free space, it's not so much of an issue, and you can measure the picoliters into that. And that's what we do. We do radon inspections. We do mold inspection. We do standard home inspection, sewer scopes. If there's a septic tank, we do septic tank inspections. If there's old oil tanks at the houses, you can even do lead base paint inspections. There's an inspection for everything to make sure that that house is in the condition that you want it to be in when you move in. So those are some of the specific reasons that it's, in a buyer's best interest to buy now. Now, based on this numbers from last year, here's some reasons that are stacked against you if you're comparing the markets versus last year. And the first reason why is that the interest rates last year, like I said earlier, were in the low 2s and low 3s. Now, for every 1%, like I said, they go up about, the housing price goes up about $300 per 1% interest. Now, I have some super important predictions to make here in a minute, so don't drop off. And like I said before, drop your comments down in the box. Let us know what you're thinking. Do you think I'm out of my mind, or do you think I'm telling you something that's viable information? The other thing that I want to talk about is that the price last year was also lower. However, the multiple offer situation, the prices today are higher by 10%. The problem was last year is when the house was listed for 500,000, it was going for 550, 600. So over list price offers were very, very common theme, and everybody was paying over. So the price point is higher this year. Interest rates are higher this year. Those are the two major things that I see going on right now. Also, we do see inventories coming up. I personally believe, and this is what I said a while ago, is that once the interest rates go down, which is going to happen, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when you talk to everyone in the lending industry, before COVID hit, their projection is that in 2020, interest rates were going to be in the 4s. Now what you're hearing from the lending industry is that interest rates will be back in the 4s in 2023. Now, what's going to happen is when those rates go back down, is that you're going to see a flash flood of buyers. And if that number turned today, we would be in another early 2022 position of multiple offers in a buying frenzy. And guess what? The price of homes is not going down. It's actually going the opposite way. It's going up. This might sound crazy, and you are either with me or against me, but I've had people telling me that they are going to wait until the market crashes. The reality is, and the truth and the facts I'll say, is we are not going to see a market crash. We are going to be required to have 6, 7, 8 months of inventory. And that is not what we have. We're nowhere near that. Like I told you, we're at 2 months of inventory. We've gone from 1.4 to 2 months. And before COVID, we were up to 3 months of inventory. So think of where we were pre-COVID. And that is my prediction of where we are going to be in 2023, worst case scenario. Now, what, like I'm saying, is once they drop that interest rate, we are going to be back in a frenzy. And that is no joke. We're going to be back into multiple offer situations. Everyone's going to be back out on the hunt. So if you're asking me what I would do if I was in a position, is I would be out there and I would be looking for the house that best suits me. And if that house pops up, whether it's today, tomorrow, or in 6 months, I would be ready to pull the trigger, because the reality is you can always refinance your home. The pricing and the valuations of homes are not going down. I can see it in the last 3-month trend. I can see it in the last 7-month trend, and I can see it in the last 12 months trend. When you go from like 10% increase to 9% increase in this, when the slowdown happened, that is the opposite of a crash. That is a stabilization. It's exactly what we need. However, if you wait, which I don't mind if you wait, it's perfectly fine. All I can tell you is that you're going to be back into a battlefield of everybody else trying to buy homes, because what a lot of people are saying is, I'm going to wait till the interest rates come back down. I personally took the chance, rolled the dice, and bought the house that I live in today, because I was like, I am not going to be battling with everyone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to date my rate and marry my house. And then in a year or two, I can refinance. I closed on my own personal house. I went into contract at 6.1% interest. By the time it was closed, the interest rates had dropped down to 5.8. And 2 weeks later, it was back down in the mid fours. I could have refinanced then and saved about about $450. I didn't refinance because I only put 5% down, and I didn't want to have to go through that whole mess. I know once the house price increases and I can show that I have 20% of equity in my home, I can get rid of my mortgage insurance, and I can get a better rate, especially when the rates are even lower. So you might be asking, well, why, Jesse, why would you only put 5% down? You're a real estate professional. Don't you put 20% down? No. I believe in leverage. I own multiple homes, and my primary home, I always keep as much cash in my pocket as possible, because when times like we have now are crazy, we need to stay liquid. That means putting less money down. Now, everyone's situation is different, but what I can tell you is that the lending team that we work with can run every single scenario based on your situation and how much you want to put down right in front of your face on a Zoom call when we talk to you about your buying or selling needs. It's very simple. We're very transparent. And if you take a call with us and you're like, oh yeah, I think I might be buying in the next 6 months or a year, I'm telling you right now, putting yourself in the position of knowledge and education is the best thing in the world. The last thing that we want is to have you reach out to us a week or two before you come out to buy a house, and we haven't built a solid plan of attack. Because the reality is, let's say, for example, you decide, I'm going to buy a house next week, and you call us up, hey, Jesse, I've been looking at moving to Portland. I've been watching your stuff for a year, and I haven't reached out because I didn't want you to force me into buying a house. First of all, we're super busy, and we have a schedule that we build with our clients that fits their timeline of when they're coming out. So when you come out is when we're prepared for you to get here. However, during that timeline of your wait, our lender could be working with you to position yourself into a better lending situation, because interest rates are important, but your credit score is most important when it comes to your interest rate. So if we have a client that's at a 640, but could get a 0.5% or 1% better just by getting their credit up to 660, we can build a plan with our lending team on how to get that credit score cranked up a little bit to get you the best interest rate. So that way, when you are ready to take action, you are in the best situation possible. And let's say you're like, I don't care about all that stuff. It's all good. The reality is we have so many clients coming out and working with our team that, we love being prepared, because we want to be able to give you the experience that you deserve when coming out to Portland, Oregon, whether you're coming out for your first time, 6th time, 10th time, buying your first home, 3rd home, 5th home with us. You guys know how the process is. You guys look at our Google reviews. You guys will see that working with our team is a great experience, because we have set this thing up from a specialty standpoint, because we work with so many relocation buyers and investors that this is what we do day in and day out, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about moving or relocating to Portland or the Southwest Washington market, there's only one thing you got to do. You got to reach out, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or even send that pigeon carrier. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back. We're making a move to Portland, Oregon. And until next time, we'll catch you later.